So I'm here to talk about the City of Chamblee's autonomous shuttle project. So this is a project that we really started a couple of years ago based on our land use and our last mile connectivity within the city. If you look at the City of Chamblee over the last 3 years, we've really changed quite a lot. This is a picture of our mid-city district. The important thing about this is that the MARTA station is located right here. So within the mid-city district, we have a rule, or we have transit-oriented development zoning that says that there is no parking requirement. So over the course of the last 3 years, we've developed over roughly 1,500 residential units and about 600,000 square feet of retail and office space in this district, all of which does not have a parking requirement. The bank may require it for financing, but we don't. This is happening in a corridor between Peachtree Boulevard and Peachtree Road that includes, really goes from the new Whole Foods, which was recently sold for, I think, the second highest amount for retail in Georgia, and really goes to the Assembly project in Doraville. Within this district, as I mentioned, the Mid-City district, we've seen a lot of growth, but we're also focused on our town center area. This is the traditional downtown area of the city, and with this area, the city has purchased, either through the DDA or through the city, all of the blue parcels here that add up to about 18 acres worth of land for redevelopment, as well as our plans for a town green and town center plaza area. So our goal here, as we started to think through this, was how do we connect people from MARTA, or who want to go to the retail area, from the residential units and the neighborhoods to the downtown area, as well as recognizing that we're going to have a large number of employees working in this area in Doraville. So as we moved forward with that, one of the ideas that immediately popped out, if you know Mayor Clarkson, is autonomous vehicles. So we looked at the autonomous shuttle for this as a solution. Why did it come to mind? Well, first of all, it carries 8 to 15 people. We're not looking for a mass transit mover. We're looking for something that can be local, that can fit on the local streets, because we are looking at Peachtree Road as the primary area for this to operate on. Secondly, it's perfect for last mile and first mile because of the it travels in mixed traffic. It also has a top operating speed of 25 miles per hour, usually, and that's something that we recognize would work well in that mixed traffic on Peachtree Road. We also thought, as we moved forward, that it was kind of cool. When you sit down with people and say, we're thinking about bringing a shuttle into this district, they look at you and say, yeah, we need that. You need to get my employees to a place to eat. When you go in and say, we're looking at autonomous vehicles in this district, they say, wow, we really want to be part of that. Can we maybe chip in some money to make that happen? And we thought, yeah, that works. So there is a coolness factor. There's also the increased mobility piece. We are talking about, as part of this autonomous vehicle, you're looking at the systems you can put in place on the road to keep that vehicle moving. It's not just about moving the people from one stop sign to the next. It's about continuous movement. And so there are systems that come along with that autonomous vehicle that assist with that. Obviously, sustainability from an environmental standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. Over time, we expect those costs to go down to operate that vehicle, as opposed to maintaining the cost of the driver and the people to operate it. And obviously, we talked about the parking demand in the area. So again, economic goals, the coolness factor, mobility, environmental, and parking. We wanted it. we thought it was a cool idea. We thought it would work, but we also thought that we might need somebody else to verify this for us. So we worked with Stantec and did an assessment, feasibility study. And what they found was that Chamblee was a target-rich environment for this technology. It was target-rich because we had the users. We have 25% of our population in Chamblee are millennials. We have a highly diverse population. Those groups are much more open to using transit. In addition to that, we have the density. We have about 3,700 people per square mile in the city, even more within the districts that this will be operating in, as well as the housing types. 2/3 of our housing stock is rental property. So those added to the connectivity that we have in the city of Chamblee with PDK Airport, the MARTA station, we have CDC, we have IRS, there's Assembly, and there's a wealth of other opportunities there. They titled it Target Rich. So a little bit about what we're looking for. I mentioned we're not looking for the large bus. We're looking for something that's much more maneuverable in our district. And right now, or at the time, there were 3 primary options we were looking at. That may change. We've also had some discussions with the developers over at Assembly on what would work well in their district so that it can move between the two. So how did we do this? We started out with that feasibility study that I spoke about, and we're currently in the middle of putting together our operations plan. So the feasibility study really looked at those targets that they spoke of, whether it's downtown, CDC, Third Rail Studios, all around the district. They identified 7 routes, as you can see here. And they actually reviewed them over a course of different areas, number of residents, as well as the speed of the roads that they're on. In the end, of course, we chose the easiest route. It's a straight shot, and it goes from the Whole Foods commercial area all the way to the Doraville Assembly project. This project, it's a straight shot. It goes through multiple intersections that will have to be adapted, but it is also a low speed road. I mentioned cost. Right now we're looking at anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million per year. Most of these vehicles are rented rather than owned, but that's something that is changing at this time. The second step is the Smart Communities operations plan, or the operations plan that we received a Smart Communities grant for. If you're familiar with the Georgia Tech Smart Communities Challenge, 4 communities received that award this year, Chamblee being one of those, and we were very happy with that, very proud of that. We're partnering with MARTA, the City of Doraville, and the Assembly CID to bring this together. And really, the purpose of this is to produce 5 deliverables. First being the impact study. What is the impact going to be in terms of sprawl and public health and safety? Secondly, it's looking at the funding models out there for this model. The city is really focused on the operations plan. What is the technology that we need to have to make this work, as well as the preliminary engineering and kind of a best practices suite. The operations plan is going to focus on that final alignment. What is the technology that goes into the system so that the vehicle gets the priority treatment as it goes down the road. Again, I mentioned we want this vehicle to not stop. Others will have to stop for it. One of the things that we didn't think about on the front end, but we're thinking of now, is where do we store and charge these vehicles? We plan on having 2 operating at any given time. We need to have 2 that are not operating, that are being charged. So that's something that we're looking into. And obviously the changing nature of the cost estimates. I mentioned in looking at the steps, we've completed the feasibility study. We're working on the operation plan. After that, we plan to go directly into implementation, working with our partners to identify those shuttles that work best in our area. So the goal is to go from this to more of a district that has vehicles operating all the time, clear notification that you're on a road with an autonomous shuttle, as well as plenty of ample opportunities for pedestrians. Thank you.
Dominic, we'll get you set up.
Can we ask questions?
We got a couple minutes, about a minute.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is very interesting. We've looked at this concept, and obviously you're way advanced to where we are. And we're glad you're doing it, so you can figure out what all the mistakes are, what all the pitfalls are, and sharing the rest of us. John, what's the biggest? When you think this thing could become operational?
Sure.
But in order to get there, what's the biggest challenge today?
Well, the biggest challenge as we look at it is the infrastructure that you need in place. Specifically, the bandwidth that these vehicles are going to need in terms of being able to talk with the operators with their main system. So as you go through the city of Chamblee, we're not sure right now that we have the bandwidth, the fiber, the internet capacity for these vehicles. And that's something that we're going to be discovering as part of this operational plan.
Who will do that assessment for you?
Stantec and Georgia Tech are both looking at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be tied into
That'll be tied in by the end of,
at some point?
yes. And by March, we'll have that our operational plan completed.
Okay.
Okay.
One more question.
One more?
Do you plan to charge the riders?
No. No, and I'll mention that even though it will be autonomous, there will be someone on board for the first year at least. But we have no intention to charge in the first year or two. What we are looking at is an overall parking plan, and the shuttle will fit into that parking plan. So the charge will be related to also the charge for parking.
Thank you.